How did I end up here? Lying in your arms, watching city lights burn the stars.
This video contains intense flashing lights and or strobe effects. If you are susceptible, either stop watching or proceed with caution. Viewer discretion is advised. It's the month of October, everybody, and you know what that means? Christmas is basically tomorrow morning. Nah, but seriously, why do we celebrate Christmas so early? Like, I see Christmas stuff in stores starting around late August. Like, what's that all about? Capitalism. But before capitalism raised its ugly head for the upkeep time this year, there's a little holiday before that, one that nowadays feels rather underappreciated. Halloween.
Scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
That opening paragraph's going to come off super awkward depending on when the video is being watched, but my inability to read a script and to keep my videos evergreen aside, October is all about the spooks. Ghosts, zombies, skeletons, and, of course, vampires. But if I'm being real with you for a second, I honestly don't find vampires that scary. I don't think I ever have, to be honest. I don't know. Insert some joke about the vampires from Twilight here or something. Regardless, vampires are a mainstay in horror media and fiction as a whole. Some of these works include the likes of Christopher Lee's iconic portrayal of Count Dracula in the 1958 film, simply known as, well, Dracula. The Vampirella comics book series, which is a more provocative take, I guess, on vampires, and they have even featured heavily in video games over the years, most notably in the Castlevania series of games, home to maybe the most beloved vampire feature game, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And even though I've listed off examples that aren't exactly the most recent, today's topic is a video game. On this channel, who would have guessed, having originally released in October 2022, ooh, how fitting, developed and published by Luca Galante, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, aka Ponkel. If you're one of the few who's scared of vampires, then you're in luck, because in Vampire Survivors, you can take your revenge on the heathens. Which is what I would be saying if you actually got to fight vampires, but kind of misleading, honestly. Well, enough of the dilly-dallying to extend the video duration. Let's talk about this hidden gem that I only discovered recently, Vampire Survivors. And the last thing I want to make you aware of, I did play Vampire Survivors through the Xbox Game Pass, so take my opinions with a grain of salt if that fact is at all a problem for you. Hashtag not sponsored, by the way. Even though I wasn't kidding about that recency comment, that's only partially true. See, I first heard of Vampire Survivors from a critic called Super Eyepatchwolf, who very briefly talked about the game in his favourite things holiday 2022 special video. But it wasn't until August of this year, 2023, that I finally played it for myself and, oh my god, I found a new obsession for a few weeks. Right, so, to explain what Vampire Survivors is exactly, let me first turn your attention to Hyrule Warriors, first released in 2014. I have talked about HW on this channel before, the last time I believe was in the 2021 edition of my top 10 favourite games list, what was once a yearly tradition now transformed into something else, but to brief you, HW is a Zelda series spin-off and successor to the Dynasty Warriors games. Cathartic hack and slash types of games where you mow down hundreds of enemies in your path to achieve your goal. It's a super cathartic experience and one of the two best stress relievers out there, the other being, well, you know what, just never mind, forget anything. But to segue from that as quickly as possible, Vampire Survivors is in the same vein as those games, just without the whole hack and slash element, but a roguelike element instead, and parts of a shoot 'em up too, that's probably also important to mention. Upon starting the game for the first time, you can choose from any character. Oh boy, what a selection! So yes, to start, this is the only character you have access to, Antonio. But no need to worry, because as you can see from my masterful editing skills, there are clearly other characters that can be unlocked down the road. With every character having a unique starter weapon, in Antonio's case, that's the whip, and various bonuses too, include stuff like extra health or extra armor to reduce incoming damage. Despite the incredibly meagre lack of choice, I do like the fact that it starts you off with a character with a whip, a neat reference to the iconic Simon and Richter album from the first two Castlevania games. The ball-kickingly hard ones, mind you. You may be thinking, that's a bit of a stretch. After all, the whip is a synonymous weapon for vampire slayers, but the game makes a ton of references to other video games throughout, subtle or otherwise, most of which I will get to, so I think it was an intentional throwback. But yeah, it's all you have to start with. Thrilling, ain't it? And you have to survive for 30 minutes and all while onslaughts of enemies come after you, increasing the amount of strength as time goes on, so good luck. Now, you may be wondering, wait, is this all there is? And to answer that, I would have to say no. There's more. Way more. Like, holy hell, there's so much more. See, by collecting gems from defeated enemies, your character can level up, and this is where that mentioned roguelike element comes into play. By leveling up, the game will offer you 3 to 4 choices, depending on your luck stat, to either choose a new weapon or passive, or level up one you already have until its max level. Increases in its duration, area effect, or damage the weapon does, and even evolve the weapon into a much better version of itself, so long as you have the necessary other items to do so, usually passives. So pretty much you can go from what you've been seeing so far to this. Rather chaotic looking, wouldn't you say? And yeah, that'd be the best way to describe late game Vampire Survivors. Pure chaos in the best way imaginable. Of course, there is some unlocking involved with the items you can obtain, usually through some sort of challenge you can find in the unlock section of the game. But after a while, you can become an unstoppable killing machine that nothing can stop. Well, almost, but never mind. Enhanced more by the upgrades you can buy from the store. There are no in-game purchases with real money for this kind of thing, so don't fret. There is DLC, however, but I'll get to that in maybe a couple of minutes. If you are struggling for a bit, I recommend going for a more tanky build with the likes of Clerisy, who has more starting health than most of the early game characters, and whose starting weapon is the Santa Water, a great AoE type of weapon. In the level up roulettes, choose weapons like the King's Bible and the Lightning Ring for extra AoE potential, and go for passives like the Armour, allowing you to reduce incoming damage, the Hollow Heart, which increases your max health by 25% for each level up, and the Pomerola for sped up health recovery. Other passive and weapons are up to you, but they're what I would recommend as your first choice. Hey, editing Lunar here. I completely forgot to talk about the Arkansas, a purple box thing that will open at the start of every little rounds that will let you pick from bonus perks, I guess essentially. And suffice to say, yeah, these are kind of instrumental in making you all the more powerful, so yeah, pick one of these carefully. Yeah, they're really good. Even though the beginning of Vampire Survivors can feel a little slow with how little you have, trust me when I say the more you stick with it, the better it gets. And I don't mean the game gets good after hour 100. No, that type of thing. I mean it gets increasingly good the more you play. It never stops getting good, or more interesting. Like in this instance, after surviving 50 minutes in one of the bonus stages, Moon Golem. I won't lie, that really caught me off guard when it happened because I was just not expecting it, but I also thought it was super cool immediately afterwards, so yeah, you know. And to be fair, it isn't just mindless hordes of enemies you'll be tearing through. There are even a few bosses you can fight. One of them is known as the Ender, a sort of designed mismatch of the Cud Reapers you can fight throughout the game, and will typically be one-hit deaths if they get you. And upon defeating them, you can get the Great Gospel. Get this, right? This item allows you to upgrade weapons past their max level, typically 8, with no cap, to my knowledge, making them even stronger the longer you go on. To say this is both a godsend and an absolute dopamine machine waiting to happen in the endless moments of stages would be one hell of an understatement. Seriously, do I need to pause to bring your attention to the footage in the background? It's insane, honestly. There are also a ton of secrets packed into Vampire Survivors, mostly in the form of characters. For example, there are coffins located in every stage, one per stage usually, and by defeating the enemies that circle them, you can then open the coffin and unlock a new character. Another way of getting new characters is by figuring out these riddles, I guess, in the secrets section of the menu, which you can then access after obtaining the Forbidden Scroll of Morvain, dropped by a boss in the Bonus Zone bonus stage. This requires the yellow sign from Moon Golem. These are rather cryptic, some definitely more than others, like this one. With the most adverse fate in Green Acres, run off the edge of the world. For context, Green Acres is a sort of challenge stage with half the time of normal stages, 50 minutes. Turns out you don't actually have to run off the map. All you have to do is run southwest for a bit, preferably with a character who has high movement speed until you end up in this weird glitched out city area. If you can't tell what's going on here, I really don't blame you if you can't. This is a reference to the infamous glitch city from Pokemon Red and Blue, and that's pretty awesome. Doing this unlocks Missing Though, another reference to an infamous glitch in Pokemon Red and Blue. Okay, in all fairness, that's not the most cryptic one. This one takes the cake for that. This means nothing, because it has nothing to do with what you need to do to unlock the secret. What you need to do is kill any coloured Reaper enemy that isn't red, duh, with X dash. You'll also need to enter the code for this character. And then press the down arrow plus enter button while there's purple ghost things on screen. So, yeah, but to be fair, the hint is a reference to the infamously absurd requirements behind fighting the secret character Smoke in Mortal Kombat 2, so props for that, I suppose. This unlocks a character called Toasty, which is also a reference to the Mortal Kombat series, by the way. Those are just two, but there are secrets galore throughout Survivors, and secrets in video games are always so fun, especially when there are cheat codes involved with them. I don't remember the last time I played a video game with a cheat code menu like this, bonus points for the encryption like text to add to the effect, so it was generally so cool to see something like this again. There's heart and soul throughout every frame of this game, and that goes for the DLC too. Vampire Survivors got 2 expansions, Legacy of the Moonspell and Tides of Fuscari, both in total adding 16 new characters, 20 new weapons, by technicality, and 3 new stages. These are great expansions to an honest to goodness already packed game, so to have more on top of that in a well-priced DLC, Polkle you shouldn't have. But I'll gladly take it anyway. There's even a new boss fight in Tides of Fuscari Lords against the World Eater who, by the way, is also one of the new 16 characters variables. Safe to say, the gameplay in the background speaks for itself. And you know, it wouldn't be a Lunar Odyssey video in the modern day without me talking about the music, and yeah, it's pretty damn good. I haven't got an in-depth analysis of it, other than the fact that it all just kind of goes hard, you know? And if I had to choose a favourite piece, that'd probably be Forest Night Fever. Though that mainly because it was all I was listening to for a little while when I first started and was struggling, so Stockholm Syndrome might be kicking in slightly on that one, but regardless, it's a really good piece, feeling like something right out of a Castlevania game. I thought this one deserved to mention too, Red and Blue. My second favourite piece, or despite what I said a second ago, my favourite overall, I don't know, I'm indecisive. Namely because it sounds like something out of a Kirby game. And that's high praise, mind you. Kirby music goes surprisingly hard a lot of the time. Maybe even a Shantae game, I'm not sure, I can never quite decide on what's more fitting. More on the sound design more on the sound design aspect in general, the game sounds great in all areas. Everything packs that right kind of punch, you know, and there's more to it as well. By going to the options tab, you can choose whether you want classic sound effects, which is the default, or blast process. To show you the difference real quick, here's the classic setting for opening a jackpot chest, a rare pickup that will give you free upgrade for whatever's currently held. And here's that, but with the blast process settings enabled. Believe it or not, blast process is my preferred sound setting. I think it makes everything sound a lot more exciting, and it's just really awesome that it's a thing you can do at any time for a little more customization. In fact, that little opening menu sequence right at the beginning, that was the blast process version. The classic version sounds like this. Pretty cool, huh? I might add that this game looks great. I've always been a sucker for the pixel art style, whether that be in games like Stardew Valley or Crosscode. It's one of the types that will just never get old, always be pure eye candy for me. All in all, I love Vampire Survivors. So much so that I went out of my way to 100% the game actually, complete the bestiary and listen to defeat enemies, and on that quickly, I genuinely love many descriptions for the enemies in here. This game's got a great sense of humour if that wasn't obvious enough, twisted otherwise. I also got everything in the collection, I got all the secrets, and I unlocked everything. That's 100% statement does include every achievement too, by the way. And do you know what you get for 100%? Well, for completing the collection anyway, you get the character Queen Sigma, who is a very worthy reward for your efforts, and even then, I'm pretty sure that's still an understatement. She's an awesome character honestly, having easily the most powerful weapon in the game, the Victory Sword, which will later yield a gift item in Soul Solution, and I think the third speaks for itself. You can tell what's going on here! The only thing I didn't bother with was surviving 30 minutes with every character in every stage, because, well, it's just kind of unnecessary. You get nothing for it other than bragging rights, I guess. Besides, by doing that, I feel like I would completely burn myself out from the game, which is not something I want, because I very much enjoyed my time with this game, from start to finish, if I hadn't made that obvious by this point. So yes, Vampire Survivors gets a huge recommendation from me. And as I said at the start of the video, it's on Game Pass, so you have absolutely nothing to lose by giving it a shot if you already have GP. But if not, the game's criminally cheap anyway for what you're getting, so consider either one. Again, hashtag not sponsored. Honestly, going into this one, I was a little wary, seeing as how Survivors doesn't have a story to talk about, and the typical review structure is to start with the story, then onto gameplay, etc, etc. But hey, I think this turned out alright, even though I did have to jump around a bit. I guess it does kind of annoy me how there's just a blank space on the main menu that looks like something should totally be there, but whatever.